The first time I heard it, I thought it was just an echo. I had been hiking alone for almost a week, and by that point, the silence starts to mess with you. Not complete silence, there are always sounds, but human silence. No conversations, no voices, no familiar noise. So when I spoke out loud and heard something answer back, my brain tried to make it normal. "All right, just a little further," I said to myself, adjusting my backpack. And then, from somewhere ahead of me, just a little further, I froze. At first, I actually smiled, because it sounded exactly like me. Same tone, same pace, same breath between the words. "Okay," I said, laughing nervously. "That's weird." But I told myself it was just the way sound travels through trees. Maybe it bounced off something. Maybe there was another hiker ahead who just happened to say the same thing. That happens sometimes. People talk to themselves on the trail. So I kept walking. But something didn't feel right, because I hadn't heard footsteps. If it was another hiker, I should have heard movement. Leaves crunching, branches snapping, something. But there was nothing. Just forest. I picked up my pace a little. Not running, just walking faster, trying to catch up, trying to prove to myself that it was just someone else. About 10 minutes later, I saw the shelter. Small, wooden, empty. Or at least it looked empty at first. I stepped inside, dropped my bag, and took a deep breath. "Guess I'm alone tonight," I said. And then, alone tonight. This time, it didn't come from ahead of me. It came from inside the shelter. I spun around instantly. Nothing. No one. Just the wooden walls, the benches, my bag. But the voice had been right there, not distant, not echoed. Close. I stood there for a long time just listening. Nothing else happened. Eventually, I convinced myself I was just tired. Exhaustion can mess with your head. I knew that. So I set up my sleeping bag, ate a quick meal, and tried to relax. But I didn't say anything else out loud. Not for a while. As the sun went down, the forest got darker and quieter, and that's when I made the mistake. I whispered something, barely even thinking. "Is someone there?" And instantly, someone there. But this time, it was different. It didn't just copy me, it matched me perfectly. Not just the words, the timing. It spoke at the exact same time I did, like it already knew what I was going to say. My heart dropped. I stood up slowly. "Okay, this isn't funny," I said. "This isn't funny." Same voice, same timing, same breath. I shook my head, backing toward the edge of the shelter. "Stop," I said. "Stop." I felt my chest tighten. "Who are you?" I asked. "Who are you?" I grabbed my flashlight and turned it on, sweeping it across the shelter. Empty. Completely empty. But the voice was still there, right next to me, matching me, breathing when I breathed, pausing when I paused. Then I realized something that made everything worse. It wasn't copying me. It was anticipating me. I tried something. I stayed completely silent. Didn't move, didn't speak, didn't breathe louder than necessary. And for a few seconds, nothing happened. Then softly, very softly, it spoke on its own. "Why did you stop talking?" My blood ran cold, because I hadn't said that, not this time. I didn't answer it. I couldn't. My throat felt tight, like if I tried to speak, something else would come out instead of my own voice. The shelter suddenly felt too small, too close, like the walls had moved in just a little when I wasn't looking. I grabbed my flashlight tighter and stepped backward, slowly moving toward the entrance. "Don't react," I whispered to myself in my head. "Just leave." I took one step. The wooden floor creaked, and right next to me, the same creak. Perfectly timed. I froze again. My breathing started getting louder, and I hated that because I knew it could hear it, or worse, match it. I moved another step. Creak, creak. Not behind me, not in front, right beside me, like something invisible was walking in sync with me. I didn't look. I refused to look. I stepped out of the shelter into the open air, and for a second, I felt relief. The forest felt normal again. Sounds came back. Distant insects, a slight breeze moving leaves. It felt real. I took a deep breath. Okay, you're fine, I said quietly. Nothing answered. I waited. Still nothing. I let out a shaky laugh. Yeah, just tired, that's all. No reply. I nodded to myself. Exactly, just tired. Silence. That's when I started to relax, just a little. I even turned back toward the shelter, thinking maybe I overreacted. Maybe I imagined the whole thing. Maybe. The voice came from the woods, not the shelter, not beside me, farther out, between the trees. My heart dropped again, because it didn't match me this time. It came after I spoke, like it was learning, testing. I slowly turned my flashlight toward the trees. The beam cut through branches and shadows, but it didn't reach very far. Everything beyond a certain point was just dark, too dark, like the light refused to go deeper. Come here. The voice said it softly, almost gently, and it sounded exactly like me. I shook my head immediately. No. It echoed again, but this time, wrong. The tone was off, like it was trying to copy my fear, but didn't fully understand it. I backed away from the trees. I'm not going out there, I said. Not going out there. Closer now, much closer. I swung the flashlight wildly across the tree line. Nothing, but I could feel it, something just beyond where I could see, waiting. Then it said something that made my stomach twist. You left something. I stopped. What? You left something. I frowned. No, I didn't. But the voice sounded unsure this time, like it wasn't confident. That's when I realized something. It didn't know everything. It only knew what I gave it, what I said, what I thought. So I tried something. I left my bag in there, I said, pointing to the shelter. That wasn't true. My bag was on my back. There was a pause. Then the voice said, bag in there. And I heard movement from the trees, heading toward the shelter. Fast, not walking, rushing. I didn't wait. I turned and ran the opposite direction, not down the trail, just away. I could hear it behind me, moving fast, too fast, branches snapping, leaves crunching, but still, no visible body, just sound, matching me, chasing me. Then suddenly, it stopped, completely. I slowed down after a few more steps, breathing hard. The forest went quiet again, too quiet. I turned around slowly. Nothing. No movement, no sound. And then, from directly behind me, right next to my ear, you lied. I screamed and stumbled forward, almost falling. My flashlight slipped from my hand and hit the ground, spinning, casting wild shadows everywhere. And in one of those quick flashes of light, I saw it. For just a second, something standing where I had been. Same height, same shape, same posture, but not me. Its face looked like mine, but unfinished, like someone had tried to copy me from memory and got parts wrong. The eyes were too still, the mouth slightly off, the skin too smooth. Then the light stopped spinning, and it was gone. I grabbed the flashlight and ran. This time, I didn't stop. Not for anything. I ran until my legs gave out and I collapsed right in the middle of the trail. The real trail. I knew it was real because I saw the white blazes again. Clear, familiar, safe. I stayed there for hours, too scared to move, too scared to speak. Eventually, morning came. and with it, normal sounds. Birds, wind, life. I made it out later that day. I didn't tell anyone the full story, not everything. But here's the part I can't explain. When I got home, a few days later, I heard something while I was alone in my room. I was on my phone, not even thinking about the trail. Then I said something out loud without realizing. Just a small sentence. And from somewhere behind me, softly, perfectly, "You lied." I didn't realize something was wrong the first night. That's the worst part. Nothing felt off, nothing felt strange. If anything, it felt like one of the most normal nights I had ever spent on the trail. I had been hiking for most of the day, trying to make up time after a late start. By the time the sun began to drop, I knew I wouldn't make it to the next shelter. So I did what every hiker eventually does. I looked for a place to camp. I found it about 15 minutes later, a small clearing just off the trail. Flat ground, a few spaced-out trees, and a fire ring made of old stones. That usually means other hikers had camped there before. It felt safe, familiar, like a place meant to be used. I dropped my pack and stretched, letting out a long breath. "Perfect," I said to myself. The forest around me was calm. Not too quiet, just the normal evening sounds. Bugs, wind brushing through leaves, distant movement that never quite gets close. I set up my tent, gathered some small sticks, and got a fire going. Everything felt routine. That's important, because nothing about that night warned me. I ate, sat by the fire, and even checked my map again just to be sure I hadn't missed anything. I hadn't. The clearing wasn't marked, but that wasn't unusual. Not every campsite is on the map. After a while, I crawled into my tent and lay there, staring at the faint glow of the fire outside. That's when I noticed something small, something I didn't think about at the time. The fire wasn't making sound. No crackling, no popping, just light. I remember frowning slightly, listening harder. Nothing. But I was tired, so I ignored it. That was my first mistake. I fell asleep not long after, and I woke up to the exact same scene. At first, I thought it was just early morning, but something felt off immediately. The light outside my tent wasn't sunlight. It was orange, flickering. I sat up slowly and unzipped the tent, and there it was. The fire, still burning, exactly the same size, same shape, same position. My stomach tightened. "No way," I whispered. I crawled out and looked around. Everything was the same. My bag, my shoes, my cooking pot, exactly where I left them. Untouched, unmoved. Even the ground looked the same. No new footprints, no signs of time passing. I checked my phone. The time hadn't changed. Still the same time I remembered before I fell asleep. I laughed a little, shaking my head. Okay, that's weird. But I still tried to explain it. Maybe my phone froze. Maybe I didn't actually sleep long. Maybe. I turned toward the fire again, and that's when I noticed it. The flame didn't move. Not naturally. It flickered, but in the same pattern, over and over, like a loop. I stared at it longer, and the longer I looked, the more wrong it felt. I stepped closer, and without thinking, I reached out and grabbed a stick from the fire. It didn't burn me, not even a little. There was no heat. I dropped it immediately, my heart starting to race. "This isn't real," I whispered. The words felt heavy as soon as I said them, like the air didn't like hearing it. And then, from behind me, very softly, "It is." I turned instantly. No one. but the forest looked different. Subtly, like the edges of things weren't as clear. Like I was looking at a place that was trying to stay together. I grabbed my bag quickly. "I'm leaving," I said out loud. No answer. I stepped toward the direction of the trail, and after a few minutes of walking, I found it. The path. Clear. Normal. I let out a breath of relief. Okay, just a weird night, that's all. I started walking. Fast. Not running, just trying to put distance between me and that clearing. I walked for what felt like hours. The sun rose. Everything felt normal again. Completely normal. I even laughed at myself. "Yeah, definitely just a dream," I said. But then, I saw something ahead. A clearing. Small. Flat. With a fire ring made of stones. My heart dropped instantly. No. I stepped closer slowly, and there it was. My tent. Already set up. Exactly the way I left it. And the fire was still burning. I didn't walk into the clearing this time. I just stood there at the edge staring at it like it might disappear if I waited long enough. It didn't. The fire burned the same way. Steady. Repeating. Wrong. My tent was still there, zipped up exactly how I left it. Even my backpack was inside, but I was wearing it. I slowly reached behind me and touched it just to be sure. It was real. On my shoulders. Heavy. Normal. So why was it sitting inside the tent too? I shook my head. No, that's not possible. But I could see it clearly. Same color, same position, same everything. Like someone had copied my entire campsite and placed it back where it started. My chest started tightening again. I took a step back, then another. I'm not going back in there. The forest behind me was silent. Not peaceful, just empty. I turned around and started walking in the opposite direction. I didn't follow the trail this time. I didn't trust it anymore. I just walked straight through the trees, pushing branches aside, stepping over roots, trying to create distance. 10 minutes, 20, maybe more. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. Until I hit something. A small drop in the ground. I stumbled forward, caught myself, and looked up, and my stomach dropped. The clearing. Again. Right in front of me. Same fire, same tent, same everything. No, I whispered, stepping back slowly. This doesn't make sense. I turned in a full circle. Forest, forest, forest. And then, clearing. No matter which direction I faced, it was there. Like it wasn't in one place, like it was everywhere. My breathing got faster. Okay, think, I muttered. This has to have a pattern. There's always a pattern.